You remember your first kiss, right? The smell of cheap perfume, the awkward tilt, maybe even the taste of fear and mint gum. Yeah, fun fact, half of that never happened. See, your memory isn't a recording device. It's more like a chaotic movie director that keeps reshooting scenes with new props and worse dialogue. Every time you remember something, you're actually rebuilding it from scratch, like a painter who can't stop fixing the same portrait until the original face is unrecognizable. Psychologists call this reconstructive memory. Basically, your brain keeps rewriting your life like a sloppy fan fiction writer who doesn't check for continuity errors. And the worst part? You trust it. You're completely convinced your memories are snapshots of reality when they're really reconstructions, edited, filtered, and sometimes wildly fictional. So when you argue with your friend about whether you were wearing red or blue at that party 5 years ago, congratulations, you're both wrong. Your brain's just made up two competing versions of a story that probably involved a bad playlist and undercooked appetizers. Your memory isn't a vault, it's a Google Doc that everyone, including your emotions, biases, and imagination, has edit access to. Basically, your brain is that one unreliable coworker who swears they remember it perfectly, but somehow always forgets to attach the file. Or you know that moment when someone swears Pikachu had a black-tipped tail, or that it spelled Berenstain Bears instead of Berenstain. Yeah, welcome to the Mandela effect, where millions of people confidently share the same wrong memory. The name comes from the bizarre fact that tons of people vividly remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s, which, didn't happen. He lived until 2013. Sorry for the spoilers. Alternate universe, folks. Here's the weird part. Science says there's no grand conspiracy, no dimension-hopping glitch. It's just your brain doing the same thing as autocorrect, except instead of turning ducking into something offensive, it's rewriting history. Psychologists think it happens when our brains fill in gaps using schemas, mental templates for how the world should be, like, of course it's Berenstain, that sounds more like a normal last name, or Pikachu's tail looks better with a black tip, obviously. It's your mind's way of smoothing reality into something that fits your expectations. The result? A collective hallucination where everyone's confidently wrong together, which honestly is kind of beautiful. Humanity, united under one shared lie about a cartoon mouse. Basically, the Mandela effect proves that memory isn't about truth, it's about comfort. Your brain would rather be consistently wrong than uncomfortably unsure. Imagine being totally sure you once got lost in a mall as a kid, only to find out your mom says it never happened. She's adamant, and the weird part? You can see it in your mind, the smell of pretzels, the panic, the bright pink carpet near the toy store. You even remember the lady who helped you, but nope, none of it. That's a false memory, and it's not rare, it's terrifyingly easy to create. In the 1990s, psychologist Elizabeth Loftus literally implanted fake childhood memories in people during experiments. She just asked questions like, "Do you remember getting lost in a mall once?" And boom, some participants remembered it vividly days later. Your brain doesn't store facts, it stores stories, and stories can be edited, especially when someone adds convincing details. That's why eyewitness testimonies, supposedly the gold standard in court, are often completely unreliable. A single leading question like, "Did you see the gun?" can make witnesses swear they saw one even if there wasn't. Your mind is basically a high-tech CGI studio that can fabricate entire scenes in stunning 4K, complete with emotional realism. It's like your brain watched Inception once and thought, "Hey, I can do that." So next time you swear you remember it perfectly, just know, you might be starring in a psychological fan edit of your own life. Ever notice how you can't remember what you had for lunch 3 days ago, but you can remember the exact song playing when your ex broke up with you in 2014? Yeah, blame emotion. Strong emotions, fear, joy, humiliation, act like industrial strength glue for memory. When your adrenaline spikes, your brain floods with stress hormones that basically scream, "Store this forever." That's why you remember your first heartbreak, but not your third dentist appointment. But here's the plot twist. Emotions don't make memories more accurate. They make them more convincing. You feel like you're right because the emotion is so intense. In reality, your brain might have photoshopped entire sections just to fit the vibe. Think of your emotional brain like a biased film editor. It cuts out boring scenes and exaggerates dramatic ones, all while insisting the final cut is based on a true story. So yes, you might remember that your teacher humiliated you in front of the whole class, but maybe only 2 people were watching. Emotion doesn't care about facts, it cares about impact. Basically, your memories aren't archives, they're trailers for emotional blockbusters that may or may not have happened. You know what's worse than having a bad memory? Letting other people's bad memories infect yours. Enter memory contamination, when someone else's story becomes tangled with your own until you can't tell where yours ends and theirs begins. Picture this: you and your sibling both remember the time your family dog ate a birthday cake. You swear it was your 10th birthday, but they're certain it was their 9th. After a few rounds of arguing, something magical and horrifying happens. Your brain compromises. Suddenly, you both remember the same version, complete with fake frosting details that never existed. Scientists have proven that just hearing someone describe an event can rewrite your own memory of it. It's called memory conformity, and it's why witnesses in group settings often start recalling the same facts, even when they didn't see the same thing. Your brain basically goes, well, that sounds legit, let's go with that. It's not malicious, it's teamwork, just the dysfunctional kind. Humans evolved to trust social information because it kept us alive. If everyone in the tribe said, there's a tiger in that cave, it was safer to believe them than to double check. Now, that ancient survival strategy has morphed into a modern day curse. Your brain's group chat is open 24/7 and everyone's typing. So next time you and your friend argue about whether it rained at last year's concert, remember, you're not disagreeing about the past. You're arguing over whose hallucination gets canonized. Basically, your memory is a Wikipedia page with unlimited anonymous editors. You probably remember exactly where you were during big world events, the day of a tragedy, a celebrity death, or even when your favorite show got cancelled. Those are called flashbulb memories, vivid, emotionally charged recollections that feel carved into your soul. Except, they're not. They feel photographic, but they degrade just like everything else. Researchers studying people's memories of events like 9/11 found something disturbing. After just a year, up to 40% of their details had changed, and they didn't notice. They were still sure they were right. In one experiment, scientists asked students where they were when they first heard about the event. A few years later, they asked again. Some answers were completely different. When shown their original responses, many were shocked. Some even insisted the old answers were wrong. Their brains had rewritten their personal history and stamped it with the 100% verified seal anyway. Your mind basically records emotional moments like a cheap phone camera, overexposed, shaky, and with terrible color correction, but you still think it's cinematic perfection. Flashbulb memories are the emotional equivalent of thinking your ex wasn't that bad because you listened to the breakup playlist too many times. They're not snapshots of the truth. They're souvenirs from your brain's souvenir shop, and the merchandise is mislabeled. Here's the most dangerous part of all this. The more confident you are about a memory, the more likely you are to be wrong. It sounds backwards, right? You think high confidence equals high accuracy. Nope. Research shows the two barely correlate. Your brain often boosts your confidence as a kind of self-defense mechanism. It's terrified of uncertainty, so it fills in the blanks with boldness. Basically, your brain is that coworker who gives the wrong answer loudly in meetings just to sound smart. When you recall a memory, your brain rates how familiar it feels. If the mental image comes easily, it interprets that ease as proof that it's true. It's called the fluency heuristic, and it's a disaster. Familiarity accuracy. That's why people swear they've always known something right after hearing it for the first time. The more times you retell a story, the more confident you become, and the more distorted it gets. Every retelling is a remix, but your brain thinks it's a remaster. You end up believing your own fiction, and with enough repetition, everyone else does too. Confidence is your memory's makeup artist. It covers all the flaws, adds a little glow, and convinces you that this is what really happened. Basically, you're gaslighting yourself, and you're weirdly good at it. Ever get that eerie sense that you remember something, but only in pieces? Like the face is clear, but the setting's fuzzy. Or you know what happened, but not when it happened. Congratulations, you've encountered a memory gap and your brain just freestyled the rest. See, your memory hates unfinished puzzles. When a detail's missing, it doesn't leave a blank. It fills the hole with whatever fits the vibe. This process is called confabulation, and it's your brain's way of saying, meh, close enough. For example, if you vividly remember being at your cousin's birthday in 2012, your brain might automatically decide your aunt's house was the location, even if the party was actually at a bowling alley. Why? Because that's what makes sense. Your brain's not lying, it's just aggressively improvising. Doctors actually see this a lot in patients with brain injuries, but everyone does it to a smaller degree. You might not even realize you're doing it because confabulated memories feel real. They come packaged with all the same sensations, smells, sounds, emotional tone, just without the factual accuracy. It's like your memory is an overconfident artist sketching from memory. The drawing looks pretty close until you notice it gave your mom free hands. Basically, when your brain doesn't know something, it'd rather be convincingly wrong than awkwardly uncertain. Sound familiar? Yeah, that's your entire personality during group trivia night. Let's talk about nostalgia, the sweet, hazy drug your brain uses to romanticize your own past. You think the summers were warmer, the music was better, and your childhood cereal had more marshmallows. Spoiler, it didn't. Nostalgia isn't just sentimental, it's selective editing. Your brain highlights the good parts, mutes the bad, and adds a nice soft filter labeled simpler times. It's psychological Photoshop, and you're both the artist and the sucker who believes it. This happens because memory and emotion are BFFs who gossip constantly. When you recall something happy, your brain releases dopamine, which reinforces the memory, like giving it 5 stars on Yelp. Meanwhile, the stressful parts fade into the background, downgraded to unnecessary plot details. That's why you'll swear your childhood was a paradise, even if you spent half of it arguing with dial-up internet. Nostalgia isn't reality, it's emotional propaganda. It's also your brain's coping mechanism. When you feel lost or uncertain, it plays highlight reels from your past to remind you of a time when life made sense. But like every comfort blanket, it's a little moldy underneath. Basically, nostalgia is your brain's way of catfishing you with your own memories. You think you're falling back in love with the past, but really, you're being ghosted by the truth. Here's the final gut punch. You don't store memories, you recreate them every single time. Your brain doesn't have a save button. It's more like a Word document that auto-updates itself every time you open it. Each recollection is influenced by your current emotions, beliefs, and even what you had for breakfast. The you who remembers isn't the same you who experienced it. That means your entire personal history, every heartbreak, every triumph, every cringy middle school haircut isn't static. It's a living story rewritten by the unreliable narrator in your skull. When you think about your past, you're not visiting a museum. You're sitting in a writer's room where your brain keeps revising the script to fit the latest season of You, the mental miniseries. The irony, those shifting, imperfect memories are what make you human. You're not a data drive, you're a storyteller. Your brain doesn't preserve truth, it preserves meaning. And that might be the only honest thing about it. Basically, you're a walking autobiography that's constantly being ghostwritten by your own imagination.